What is it with you? What do you got, a death wish or something?
That's what it takes. I just want to race.
Alright, Diesel Heads, it's episode 11 of the Chronicles of Diesel, a monthly journey through Vin Diesel's filmography, gameography, bibliography, everything Diesel on the Chronicles of Diesel. My name is Ethan. With me here, as always, is Devin.
What's hell without a little fire?
I remember that line, but although I'm a bit disappointed. I kind of wanted you to do the really bad whistling.
That's not a quote. That's not a
also
quote.
Not from Vin Diesel, to be fair. But yes, it is from the Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay, the 2004 Xbox game, which is one of two things we're going to be talking about today on the Chronicles of Diesel. Every month we get together and we explain, talk about all things Diesel, what he's currently doing, and then we jump back in time and go through a film or a game or whatever we were at last and go in complete detail and then rank them all. We're going to be doing a two-parter thing today for this because we did two things. Before we go to those two things from 2004, let us come back into January of 2021.
Let's stick to the present.
Month? Well, right now it's February 1st, so we're still going back in time.
For January. We're recapping January.
Exactly.
2021, year of our Lord.
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel, yes. So yeah, this is VNN. I'm your news hound, Devin.
That's right.
How we usually do this, if this is your first episode of Chronicles of Diesel you're listening to, basically I do a couple Google searches of Vin Diesel, make sure nothing crazy happened. And I also track his Instagram followers to see if it's gone up. It's almost like a stock, so if you want to invest, go follow Vin Diesel on Instagram. So yeah, I feel like that's the closest way to us like seeing what he's up to as well, because he's posting it himself. It's coming straight from the source. So yeah, we're gonna start with his Instagram. So he did 7 posts in January as of this recording. There's only a couple days left here in January. But I'm not expecting him to make any more posts. He usually does about 8. That's like his average is like 8 posts. So he's right there at 7. And he had your classic Happy New Year. He likes to do his videos where he talks to the people. He ended it with him saying, "Let the Roaring '20s begin." So I'm guessing we're ignoring 2020. I think it's easier when you're rich to do that.
Yeah.
But
well, yeah, it goes back to there is no year 0, so if you started B1 through 10 is the first 10 years. So technically, 2021
I guess you're
is
right.
the start.
Yeah, so maybe sorry, Vin. I'm not trying to criticize you if you're listening.
Although, actually, this is a real Bible question.
Uh-huh.
Is there a year 0, or did it go from 1 BC to 1 AD? Because it's not 1 year after Jesus. There needs to be years of Jesus, right?
I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that. I'll put it at the top of our article that we don't write for VNN. What counts as year 0 and 1? I don't know.
But hit me. What's Vin Diesel been saying about Jesus?
Nothing really. He's always seemed to me though like he kind of does have like some sort of belief in God, but I don't know if he's like in like one category. I don't think he's like I would guess he's like a loose Christian.
It's very easy for me to just take his Dominic Toretto character about just the iconography and the sense of community.
Faith.
That's really it.
Just like loose faith. Yeah.
Faith as an explanation for why you're awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can easily see that be the case, or maybe he goes deeper. Who knows?
Yeah. So yeah, he had his New Year's post. Then he posted a photo with his name is Nacho on Instagram. Where he said, "Moments in music have always admired the musical gift of this Venezuelan talent. Wait until you hear what my brother Nacho and I have cooked up. Blessed and grateful, all love always." So yeah, once again, we're getting some hints at either new music, maybe an album. We'll have to wait and see on that. Then he also did a post of him on looks like a airplane or something, but like super low to the ground, because like in the picture there is like you can see streets and stuff, but like super low to the ground. Maybe he's on a highway, I don't know. But he said 2021, the possibilities are unlimited. Excited to get back to filming. So it sounds like he's filming something. He did hashtag Bloodshot, hashtag Riddick,
right.
hashtag Toretto Tuesday, which is a first for me. I didn't know that was a thing. I'm going to start
Tuesday.
wearing my wife beater on
you know
Tuesdays.
I wonder if they started filming for Fast 10.
Maybe. That's a possibility. That's a possibility. But he also did hashtag location scouting. So maybe he's finding locations.
Maybe it's pre-production.
Yep. Then he had a post with a shot from I think the first Fast and Furious movie where Michelle Rodriguez and him are kind of like cuddling up at the dinner table, and he wrote 20-year anniversary, happy creative, all love. And when I first saw this, I'm like, wait a minute. I thought, I don't know.
Married?
Are you guys married? No, it's because it's the 20th year of Fast and Furious, so which is exciting.
Insane.
Yeah, which is insane. Fast and Furious has been almost around as long as we have. Like, that's actually kind of dope. So yeah, there's that post. So, and also I think that it gets kind of a little bit of the hype for like if you're into Fast 9 that hopefully we get this year, which I don't know anymore. Then he had a post for his niece who she's standing on looks like the sidewalk or something. She has like a microphone in her hand like she's singing, and he did write a really nice post here that I'll read quick. I thought it was nice. He said, happy birthday to my angel niece Ocho, 8 years old. What a special number that signifies infinite possibilities. Is no coincidence that while your Jamaican ancestors celebrate your birthday, they also celebrate their other daughter. History was made today on your birthday. Our first truly multicultural woman to become our nation's vice president. Hope in the future you'll look back on today with the miracle and significant it deserves. There are no limits in what you can achieve in the beautiful life. I love you, and I'm eternally proud of you. And of course, you are who are you becoming? Your Uncle Vin. And I'm like, okay, that's a good post. I like that. Thought that was neat. Then we get back into about the audio here. His ARC hype. If you weren't here, for last month's episode of Chronicles of Diesel, where we found out that Vin Diesel is going to be in ARC 2, and not just in it, he's also like a basically an executive producer, a creative director on it, some big role, and it's him going through the pages of what looks like dinosaurs from the game, like information on them, and it's in slow-mo, and it has like some spooky music in the back, and he wrote Explorer Notes, always excited to be part of a creating a cinematic universe. Great summit with Wildcard. That's in caps, Wildcard. Even if it was taken over by Little Angels. Haha. This must be ARC stuff. I don't know. None of that rings a bell for me.
Isn't Wildcard the studio?
I think so.
Did I
that makes more
forget
sense.
What they were called?
Yeah.
I thought they were called Wildcard.
But I also think this is an old video because in the back there's a box that says Xbox One, and then it has the ARC logo there. And like just like some packaging, so I'm guessing they sent him something, and this is just an old video, but it's just him being like he's looking through it again, maybe or something to get his brain working. So that's cool. And then for my favorite post that he did, this is significant because we haven't got there yet with your history recap, but we've known that there's been a little maybe beef between him and The Rock, right? Or there's been some. Maybe creative differences or something, right? We don't know their full relationship. They could just be best buds, and maybe they just had issues on set because you have two
high testosterone.
Yeah, big men.
Action stars.
Yeah, so I don't know. But 2 days ago, as of this recording, he January 26th, that is, he wrote, there's a picture of him holding a shotgun, and then behind him is, or in the distance, but like kind of like fuzzy, like it's the
out of focus.
It's out of focus. It's how the focus is The Rock wearing his like his battle vest and all that, but he's looking jacked. But Vin has his shotgun, and he wrote, "Blessed to be part of so many iconic films or iconic moments in film. I don't reflect on them as much as I should. Maybe because I'm too excited for what's coming. Ha ha. All love. Hashtag Happy Toretto Tuesday. Hashtag F9. Hashtag F10. End of a saga. So that's already big right there, right?
Yeah.
And then guess who commented?
Dwayne the Jock Robinson. Dwayne the Rock Robinson.
Yes, The Rock wrote, "Great shot, brother. We had fun and created some insanely iconic moments I'll always be grateful for. Hell of a tricep flex, too." And they did a winky face and then flexing emoji. And it has a bunch of likes. And I'm like, okay, so it seems on face value here that there's no more beef between them, or at least that they've agreed that, like...
Their agents have said it's in your best interest.
I know. I don't know. Like, at least from...
Agreeable.
I follow The Rock, too, on Instagram, and he's always seemed pretty, like, down-to-earth. And, like, he doesn't seem like anyone's really running his Instagram. It doesn't seem like he's actually the one doing it. Either that or he has a great social media manager, which I guess is a possibility. But it just seems like something he would say. And it's cool to see them kind of like talk like that, especially it gets back into the F9 hype. And the fact that he wrote "maybe because I'm too excited for what's coming" and then posting him and The Rock makes me think that maybe in F10 they're going to come back together, because it sounds like he's not going to be in F9, but maybe there's a chance we'll see them together in F10. But The Rock's comment made it seem like it's in the past. Like we had fun and created some insanely iconic moments. So here on VNN, we like to just speculate a lot. Nothing is actual facts. So my speculation is maybe we'll see Dwayne The Rock Johnson come back for his role in Fast 10 in space or wherever it is.
You also got to remember too, they're still doing another. I almost called it Calvin and Hobbes, Hobbs and Shaw film.
Yeah.
And I don't think Universal is going to stop the Fast and Furious franchise. I think Fast 10 might be the end of like this crew and maybe what any of that means. I think it'd be crazy if Vin Diesel is not in the films after 10 anymore. I mean, it's fucking moneymaker right there. Like, he owns it, right? Or he owns...
He's part of it. He's something financially involved.
He's incredibly involved. That's right. He owns Riddick.
Yeah.
Completely. Because of a deal he made to be more involved in Fast and Furious, which is just a win-win for him at this point, obviously. So, like, the Hobbs and Shaw films, I imagine, will just keep going because they were the best part about Fast and Furious 8. Hobbs and Shaw wasn't as good of a movie as what they did in Fate of the Furious.
Yeah.
Even though we haven't gotten there yet in this show, and we won't get there till 2 years from now. Legitimately 2 years from now. But I think it's safe to say we can comment on our experiences on that movie. They will still make more. Like, that movie made a lot of money. They'll keep making those movies. At the very least, it'll always be Hobbs and Shaw 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe the third one will literally be called Hobbs and Shaw Tokyo Drift.
Or something.
I would lose my goddamn mind if that was the case. Tokyo Drift just becomes the always the way of rating the number 3 now. Yeah. It's just Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, but I thought that's exciting. Kind of gets me hyped for, hopefully we get Fast 9 this year. We don't really know how movies are going to be this year. So hopefully we don't have to wait too long. One last thing to end it all here. Like I said, I've been tracking Instagram following.
That's right. Last
month, he was at 67.8. Can you guess what he's at now?
67.8.
Before that, he was at 67.1.
68
million. This is million, by the way. 60.5. You're not too far off. 68.3 million. So we still haven't hit that 69 that we're hoping.
That's right. It's going to be a big celebration.
Yeah, that Vin hits. If anything, hopefully by the end of the show, he's at 100 mil.
Yeah.
I think that is the goal.
Oh, the end of this entire podcast run.
Yeah.
The 2-hour episode.
No, I meant like by the end of this. In 2 years, he's a lot of ground to make up, but I think a movie would help get some followers. People are like, maybe, because you got to remember, F9 could be someone's first Fast and Furious movie, and there might be like, who's this Vin Diesel guy, and then follow him on Instagram. Right. So
exactly,
we're cheering for you, Vin.
Exactly.
But that is it for me. I didn't see anything else in the news really. So,
all right, well. That is a joyous rendition of Vin Diesel's January 2021. Let's jump back in time to 2004.
Great year.
For a pair of Riddick and Diesel offerings. So, as I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, we're doing the Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay, the 2004 Xbox game. We are also doing the Chronicles of Riddick Dark Fury, the 2004 animated, I believe, direct-to-video release. Directed by Peter Chung, but still written, and the story is by David Twohy, the director of the actual Chronicles of Riddick movies, starring Vin Diesel, as well as the two main cast members that lived the end of Pitch Black. Very short. I, honest to God, don't have a whole lot of information, if any at all, to be honest. I don't have anything fun for this. There's like nothing. This just happened, and it got forgotten, which I think, I'm going to say right now, is a okay thing to happen.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of enjoyed it. I'll say that. I kind of enjoyed it. Like, out of all the Vin things we've seen, once again, we're going to rank it later, but I'm going to say just from when I first watched it, I'm like, it's just different, so I think that's why I enjoyed it. It's just, we get to see Vin in this whole episode, we get to see Vin in two different things that we haven't seen him in before. We're not seeing him on film anymore. We're seeing him in animation, and then in
Iron Giant, but...
Oh, yeah, I guess. Okay. No, I know what you mean. Okay, you're right.
A little different than Iron Giant.
But a video game and a animated short.
Exactly. Is this considered a short if it's 35 minutes?
Yes.
I guess.
According to VNN's definition of short, yeah, it is a short.
No, VNN is the future. Well, right now we're in the Chronicles of Diesel, which is the past. So in any case, let's begin with the Chronicles of Riddick Dark Fury, which, by the way, takes place directly after Pitch Black, the cult classic hit. So we open with Riddick, Jack, and the Holy Man, and I forget his name, even though they actually say it in this one and not in the Chronicles of Riddick movie, in the ship from the ending of Pitch Black. They're cruising along. Again, this is 35 minutes, so any like little moment of any little moments of like, I don't know, minutia or gravitas that these characters could bring, you just can't have because you need to truck along. But it's immediately picked up by a larger vessel for inspection. It turns out that their crew and the leader there, Junior, have been looking for Riddick, as Riddick's trying to say that he's Johns, who is the bounty hunter that dies in Pitch Black. They pick up the ship. Riddick plays with the ship's thermals to hide them while the crew approaches it. I actually thought this was like the first moment in the thing where I'm like, okay, this doesn't look too bad. As like, there's some... My issues with this entire thing is that the animation is wildly different in terms of quality. Every like 5 minutes, it gets worse or better or weird or bad, and none of it is, to me, any sense of a plan. And it just sounds like the budget and where the budget went for certain scenes. When they're walking through that like weird gravity tunnel and they're all in like different angles, and you get close-ups of all these like just mercenaries' faces who will die immediately. I actually thought it was kind of cool. Before we continue, what do you think about the animation?
I kind of agree with what you said. It definitely has moments where it doesn't age well, but there's some other moments I'm like, I really like this a lot. Like there's a lot, like during some of the fight scenes, it was super anime, and they like, in terms of like its shots, like it's like it zoomed in on the faces to kind of get the reaction. Then like some of the angles were like classic anime, like almost Dragon Ball Z like, where it's just like, or even like Samurai Jack, even though it's not technically an anime, but you know what I mean, where where like the angles were really cool, but like when it cut to like the spaceship flying and all that, it looked real rushed, like you said. But I forgot who made this, but I did see on the Amazon description that like the same people who made this, the animation, also made Animatrix, which I haven't heard of, but it sounded familiar.
The Animatrix is the animated Matrix movie. There you go. Yeah, and what's his name directed that as well? Peter Chung, I believe. Which I haven't seen that movie. I only saw the first Matrix film, so I haven't seen the Animatrix. But yeah, I mean, before we continue, like this is an animated budget film. It's 35 minutes. This is more of promotional hype material, if anything. This is like, we'll get to a licensed tie-in video game, capitalize off the film, make more money than what your box office can grab you for the film. Merchandise. This is essentially merchandise for the movie that came out the same day, I believe. Chronicles of Riddick, The Butcher Bay, and Dark Fury all came out on the same day. I'm 99% sure. Technically, these two came out first, but the reason why we did the second is because it makes more sense to do the actual movie before its spin-off material. Nothing about this seems super, like, important, as we'll talk about later on. This all just seems like we needed to make a budget animated thing.
Yeah, if anything, it's just like padded the lore. Like, I did appreciate that, like, we got to see where Tombs came from. Like, I think that's cool. And then when we get into the video games, there's a couple characters that we see in the movies, which I thought was neat. So at least like it's not just like, here's a random side adventure. Like, there is some sort of not impact, but just like there's some tie-ins to the sequel.
At this point, when their ship is abducted, Diesel's doing, or I guess Riddick, but let's be honest, it's Diesel in that animated cell there, doing some shit. The crew that's popping up is walking towards them. I'm realizing that we're already like a tenth of the way through this movie, or what a short animated side story, whatever you would call this. I'm like, this is a very, very weird thing, and I'm trying to grasp my head around this throughout the rest of this until I get to the end. But so they're all walking down that tunnel. It's like some anti-gravity stuff going on that they can like float around. After some brief action, Junior has Jack pinned down. Jack was the little girl from the end of Pitch Black, voiced by that actual actress, and not what's her name that voiced her in Riddick, the Chronicles of Riddick movie. And Riddick gets to meet the actual leader, who is the Spirit Halloween sexy General Grievous costume.
Hell yeah.
With a woman inside of it.
Hell yeah. I was going to say that I actually liked that a lot, because they only showed her briefly when they first were abducting their ship, where like the dude nodded or like looked to her for approval, and I didn't think anything of it. And then like the way that I think it was Riddick said that, like, call off your lapdog, and like you think he was talking to him, like, but not as him being the lapdog, and then it cuts to her speaking, and I'm like, okay, that was cool. I like that. I thought that was neat.
Her outfit is ridiculous. Like I said, she looks like General Grievous from Star Wars. But yeah, like, that is, Riddick, love it or hate him, love him or hate him, love it or hate it, he always seems to just have this perfect clairvoyance about the situation and everyone in it. And that's just the way it is from here on out.
Yeah.
That's just how it needs to be. So if we're going to keep doing this, at least it gets to be interesting things like this, where that is a tiny minor narrative, not twist even, just like a fun beat that gets to happen. We might as well have fun with this character if he's going to always be this way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with what you said there. Her name is blank. I never actually learned what her name is.
Chillingsworth?
I call her Grievous throughout the rest of this.
Chillingsworth, I'm pretty sure.
Chillingsworth?
Yeah.
Weird name.
That's what's listed as on IMDb.
Okay. Her name is Chillingsworth, and she knows all about Riddick. She calls Riddick on his bluff and gets him into their custody. Riddick is trying to be like, oh, this little girl means nothing to me. And Chillingsworth is like, why the fuck do you have her? Why the fuck do you have the other guy? Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Or we'll kill her. You know what I mean? As they're taken along, we see that this ship contains many, many frozen mercenaries. The group is separated, and Riddick is taken to an observatory, I believe is what she called it, and sees a frozen Furion, and a bomb is implanted into his neck. I think this is the first time, canonically, we get to see the word Furion, because Pitch Black had nothing to do with that at all.
Yeah, this is the first time.
And I wonder if it means anything to him.
He kind of like he looks at it, but like he doesn't really say anything. Like he doesn't really acknowledge like or doesn't give us any sort of like hint that like that triggers something for him. But then in the video game is when we get to that is when we
flashbacks or like not flashback visions.
We start to get those visions, which was what we see in the second movie. They have so many titles. Chronicles of Riddick 2.
No, the Chronicles of Riddick, that movie, because the first one was called Bitch Black, and this is technically the third Chronicle. That movie is technically the third Chronicles of Riddick thing chronologically. In any case, I don't think any of those visions tell him he's a Furian until the movie. So I think it's more of just like a nod to us that like, oh man, they're so cool. They're here.
Yeah, like if you know about it, you're like, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Grievous is taking Riddick to her private collection. She's collecting criminals as
my
art
collection. Piece. It's just literally General Grievous.
Yeah, exactly.
A bunch of lightsabers.
It's a weird. I don't want to even say fucked up scene. But, like, it's just, like, an interesting idea of, like, this woman takes the violence as an art and wants to keep these people alive. Like, it's a nightmare. Like, that's a fate worse than death what these people are having right now.
Yeah.
Like,
I kind of digged it, though. It's just because this movie could have easily... This is one of the reasons I like this, that this short, or this animated cartoon, could have easily just been, like... Bad guys take them. They have to escape. But, like, there's more to it than this. Like
there
this,
is some sort of...
It's like an evil witch. Like that. Because, like, this...
Yeah.
Because what we saw in the Chronicles of Riddick was a change from a sci-fi movie to a sci-fi high fantasy almost.
With the Romans.
Yeah, with a that kind of mixed genre. And I'm glad that, like, compared to the game, it went with that again. Where, like, it's still sci-fi and they're still on a ship... But, like, the reason she's doing it is just, like, some weird, goofy reason that, like, I feel like this would be something like you'd find in Dungeons & Dragons where it's just there's an evil witch or some sort of sorcerer or whatnot or leader who just collects monsters or, in this case, serial killers and bounty hunters. And I do like the idea of them having all these bounty hunters on board and they're just disposable. Which is crazy. Yeah, just a crazy. Like this is. I like that concept. It's different.
Yeah. I mean, like this is a. I think this whole thing is executed pretty poorly in terms of its animation and the actual narrative beats it wants to have. But like taking a step back here, as like a concept for what this is, you know what I mean, and not anything in specific about it. This is exactly the type of story I would have wanted the Riddick movies going after Pitch Black. I did not like the high fantasy and now he rules them, you know, type of way, you know what I mean? That
I meant more just in like in a world or a universe where there's
a
this kind of
stuff.
Type
of thing.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that this is a kind of like Alien, a situation where our heroes escape and now they're just thrusted into another harrowing adventure. We are going to lose someone in our journey, essentially, on our way here, just trying to get home. But I like that this is a way to have our anti-hero somehow, without his consent, have a bit of his ideology exposed. Because you're pitting him against someone that is so profound with what they think about the situation and life existence, what is art, blah 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 blah, that in order to have him fight this person at all, you need to hear a couple things about what he thinks in response to this. So I like that you have a way of having a character that does not want to talk, but yet always has to have something smarmy and wise to say.
There was
a way to break that shell a little bit and force something out of him that isn't something he wants to do.
I think it was around here where, let me get my notes up. It was around here where he's like, one of my favorite lines from this was him being like, "Your taste sucks," and he like even calls her a psychopath. I'm like, damn,
exactly.
Like
and
Riddick, you're such
like, what the fuck are you?
I'm just like Riddick, like. But yeah, I was there like cheering for him. I'm just like, hell yeah, she crazy, dude. You're right. Even though you're a serial killer. And in the game, you're definitely a serial killer.
In our version.
In our version of the game.
We'll get to that in a bit. We get a little side cut. We watch Toombs get unfrozen. He is a bounty hunter that we'll see in the Chronicles of Riddick movie, who then dies in the Chronicles of Riddick movie. He gets unfrozen, and Riddick is brought to a chamber where Jack and the Holy Man are tied up.
Abu is his name. I forgot to tell you I found it. Abu.
Okay. Grievous wants Riddick to butcher some attackers before they get to their victims. Essentially, she wants to see with her own eyes him do something bloody and marvelous, artistic as she puts it, so that she can capture that when she decides to make him pose, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She wants that those final moments frozen in him. Riddick fights the Shrill, which are actually really cool looking monsters that are straight up from video games, and kills them with Jack's help. They look like they are from Final Fantasy 13 and 10 and any kind
I like
of
how they
JRPG.
kind of like glowed. They remind me of like jellyfish. Like if you ever seen like those jellyfish in like the deep sea where like they'll just randomly like light up and then disappear in the darkness and then light up. It's so spooky and eerie. And they have those like, just like you said, like video game alien tentacles where like you have to dodge those. And yeah, I like that fight. That was cool.
Grievous is thrilled by this though and is distracted. Riddick then cuts the bomb out of his neck and tosses it as it explodes.
Which was, out of all the things we've seen the character Riddick do thus far, somehow that one was like, I'm like, damn, like we've seen him dislocate his shoulders and escape from handcuffs. But for me, there was another time where I'm just like, damn, Riddick BA, like Riddick don't give a fuck. And then later on, he also cuts his arm, and not just like his hand or something. He's like, I'm gonna cut my forearm, which just seems super dangerous. I don't know.
No hesitation. Yeah. Toombs and some mercs are on the hunt for Riddick, and we see a gigantic beast get unleashed. This is some weird amalgamation between a chimera of flesh and then machine. It's really drawn to blood, and we barely. This is one of those things where I think the animation in this film, I'm just gonna call it a film. Fuck it. In this film is poor quality, and I mean that in terms of both still frames as well as conveying motion. But at the same time, I'm not sure if it comes to the benefit of this creature because you rarely get an actual good look at the thing, and I don't know if that's necessarily on purpose. But it has the benefit of the poor animation working for it. You know what I mean? Like it makes it seem scarier because you don't even know what it really even looks like. It looks like a giant pig creature without any limbs with a robotic ass and then like a bunch of wires connected to legs.
It just had like two legs,
10 mouths.
I thought of it as like a skinless tadpole with robo legs, and it just like had tentacles out of its mouth again, and it just was
gross.
Yeah, it looked gross.
It reminds me of the demon Pinky from the original Doom. This on two legs, it just charges towards you and eats you, kind of a thing. I thought this was a cool creature. I wish though it had like more part in a movie that was longer than this one. Riddick and crew make a plan to end split up. Riddick will distract, while the Holy Man and Jack make for the flight deck. Then Riddick does some tricky stuff. He cuts his arm, leaves a blood trail. I don't think we see him take his shirt off, but he takes his shirt off, his bloody shirt.
I was kind of hoping he would just be shirtless for the rest of the journey, but unfortunately not.
The Beast gets all of the mercs except Toombs. This is a very quick scene, but I get it. We need to be moving along. It was actually kind of disappointing to see Toombs get out. You had an opportunity to show more about his character here. Maybe he's a coward and he ran first, and that's how he lived. Maybe he stood his ground and he was able to see while everyone else was fearful, and that's how he lived. Instead, he just kind of like shoots a pipe and jumps in.
Maybe
but he's not running away.
Wish
he's still shot at.
I wish he fought Vin in some way, because at the end it like shows him like, I'll get you, and I'm like, why?
What the fuck? Because he's worth money. That's it.
Yeah,
Like,
I wish there was
briefly
more
get-
like reasoning besides just money. Like he fights him and he kind of gets his butt kicked or something. I don't know, but I guess he wouldn't have had that one scene in Chronicles of Riddick where he's outsmarted by Riddick. You know what I mean? But in a way that was like, oh, this is your first time encountering him.
To me, well, okay, you can have a history with characters that you don't have to actually show us, right? That was the way Riddick and Johns had it in Pitch Black. To me, like, again, Riddick had a 5-year time jump, I think. It opens up like a 5 years later type of thing. Easily you could have had a story in there that we don't need to see because it's not important. And it also makes a history kind of cool. To me, like, they just put Toombs in here so that they could say that there's more things that tie in to the lore, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you're right. Like, when he says, you and me ain't done yet, boy, or whatever he says, I'm like, really? Why do you care? You gotten frozen. These people, you can leave now.
How long have you been
You're
frozen?
free.
You've been frozen
Right.
for a week, a month, a year.
They
decades,
say, like, months or years at a time that these people sign up to be frozen for. Like, what the fuck?
At any moment, you're just gonna get woken up.
Yeah.
Time to work.
But yeah, the Beast kills them all, and Riddick jumps down and gets it. Riddick and Junior then fight to the death, and Riddick makes do on his promise to bury a knife in his eye.
I like that fight. Like I said, I think that was my favorite moment in this movie, this film, just because it was so stupid anime. Like, I just loved it. I'm like, because at first, like, whole time I'm just like, okay, Vin is just. It just seemed kind of out of the blue. They're like, hey, for this moment, all of a sudden, they're gonna make Vin look like this more gangly, like, ninja or something, and then he was like, I pull out this sword, and he's shirtless, and I'm like, you know what? Sure, I like this in a really weird way. So it didn't fit like it didn't. To me, it doesn't really match with up until this point. I feel like it was trying to match what the world that they're trying to build, the universe that they're trying to build in the Chronicles of Riddick. This scene just felt like they're like, I imagine like someone in the studio was like, yo, can we get like an anime fight in this with like a sword? And they're like, sure, let's do it. You know, like they just went with it.
I don't even know if I would even call like anything about this anime necessarily. I don't know. It just feels.
I meant more of the trope that like the good guy and the bad guy meet,
have a sword fight. Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
suddenly, and like he has to take his clothes off because he's to like show he's ripped, and like they're both like really good at their craft, and it just takes one of them to lose a step.
To me, this looks like, and especially this fight, this is Cartoon Network. That fight is like Dexter's Laboratory. Weird animation thing, does not fit anything else that they had shown in here. I didn't really care for this fight, but it did make, at this point I'm like, all right, this is totally a Dexter's Lab. But you know what? I've been trying to figure out what this animation style reminds me of. It's not anime, in my opinion. It reminds me of like Adult Swim, when it's not trying to be funny and it's trying to make a cool animated show.
No,
It's
yeah,
like
I guess maybe that's where I'm
this
thinking of.
kind of a thing.
I didn't watch too much like of that stuff besides like Samurai Jack, and like I guess that's the closest way I could describe it. So I guess I kind of agree with you there that like maybe that's more the style I was thinking of. I just like the idea of, hey, we're just gonna have a dude with a knife and a dude with a sword. Yeah. I'm shirtless, by the way, and it's just so cheesy and like out of the blue that I'm like. I love it when things just take a weird turn sometimes, and I
can't hate on people having fun doing their job. So, these people, I think, had fun making this. I hope. I don't know. At least the scene, maybe, more than the others. But this was just like a weird quality shift to me. Like, some of like the way they were animating it almost felt that they were shifting the screen and not stuff on the screen, if that makes sense.
Vin looked really weird at Vin looked really weird at like almost gangly.
They were warping things.
He was like this. He was like doing like his arms were like outstretched more than you would think, and then like the dude's like with his broad chin, just like he's like, I take my shirt off and has a sword, and I'm like, okay, sure.
In any case, Junior is dead. Riddick is victorious, and Grievous surprises Riddick. She pulls out a gun, and it looks like she shot him, but actually Jack shoots her instead, and she lays down there dead.
Kind of like how Jack saved Riddick twice in a way, or at least assisted Riddick twice, even outsmarting him or predicting that.
In a sense.
And it kind of hints later on in Chronicles of Riddick how she becomes him or wants to become like him because she kind of saved his butt a couple times and he never respected her until she's dead.
Yeah. Well, to end it out, they get into the ship and leave, and the Holy Man tries to tie this narrative into the actual movie we reviewed last month by saying, I'm afraid she's going to be like you.
And then they go to
wow.
New Mecca.
Or at least that's where they're trying to head to. And the movie ends the way it began. 3 strangers in a ship heading to the same place they began. In a way, that's like pretty good side story.
It's just a minor inconvenience for everybody.
And in a way, it's a bad side story. It all depends on how your characters grow, and I don't think Riddick grew at all. But
I think
Jack's character... That's a lot to make
Jack's character is the only one I feel like that you could argue grew in some way or showed what their potential as a character.
Guess. But we all saw how that ended up.
Yeah, unfortunately, she dies. So,
in any case, that was the Chronicles of Riddick: Dark Fury. Do we want to rank this now or wait till Butcher Bay?
Have we done a double before? What did we do last time?
The last time we did a double was for the Iron Giant and Boiler Room for episode 4.
I think we ranked them after each one, so I think we should rank this now.
Do you want to?
Yeah.
You want to rank it now?
Yeah, I think it'll be easier too because I don't want to go in and be like, oh, I
have to kind of remember what we just said.
Yeah.
So, we do a movie ranking and a Vin Diesel performance ranking on the Chronicles of Diesel. The movie ranking is what it seems like, which of these movies is better than the others, based off just the movie, not necessarily Vin Diesel's performance in it. And then we do one that is solely Vin Diesel's performance and ranking against himself. So we will now rank this as a movie. I think we talked enough about what we thought about this short. So I'll just dive into what our current rankings are. For the movie ranking, number 1, we have Saving Private Ryan. Number 2, Triple X. Number 3, The Fast and the Furious. 4, The Iron Giant. 5, Awakenings. 6, A Man Apart. 7, Boiler Room. 8, The Chronicles of Riddick. 9, Pitch Black. 10, Knockaround Guys. 11, Multifacials. And 12, Strays. I'm going to throw this out there right now because I think we benchmark these things by comparing them to their equals or things that are similar to it. I liked Pitch Black and Chronicles of Riddick more than this movie.
Yes.
So by default, to me, I think this should go 10, 11, 12, or 13. Somewhere in that range. Are you with me at least with that?
Yeah, 100%.
We tend to disagree pretty harshly for these last few episodes, so I want to at least knock down this shitty movie somewhere.
When I first looked at this was just my gut reaction. I don't even know if I agree with it. This was my gut when I first looked.
You fucking say number 1.
No. You know, man, I really think this is better than Saving Private Ryan right now. I was gonna say 11.
Okay.
Only because.
So you would put it so when you say 11, it is above only 2 things. It would be above Multifacial and Strays, 2 Vin Diesel produced.
I can see. I think it's better than Strays at least. I'm probably gonna watch this way before Strays.
Well, we both own it on Amazon Prime Video, right?
Yeah. So
paid $5 for this. It's not even in HD.
Yeah. That was really disappointing. That was one, I guess, critique. It's I'm there's got to be a better version of this somewhere.
Oh, by the way, when I texted you, wait, and then never mind, and then LOL, it's because I saw the Amazon listing thing said 2013. I'm like, wait, is this the animated one they did for the 2013 Riddick movie? Did I tell them the wrong one? And I pull up the spreadsheet. I'm like, okay. And then I Google it. I'm like, okay, never mind. LOL.
Yeah, I was very confused.
I mean, I'm sure you would have been like, wait a second, this has nothing to do with there's stuff I'm supposed to know, or you know what I mean. So.
I think it's at least better than Strays. I keep going back. I keep going back and forth with Multifacial because Multifacial is a good short. We saw it's Vin Diesel's. It was the first Vin Diesel thing we watched, and it does have a soft spot for me because of that. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. It's so hard to compare a cartoon short to a film short that was 10 years prior to it or whatever year it was.
However, we can still talk about narrative and characters. That's the thing that these both share. And I think Multifacial has a better, I don't want to say a better character than the Riddick, but Riddick is established at this point. So we're kind of tying off of other things. There's actual growth, or at least something to say with Multifacial. Technically, you could say the same thing about Strays, but I don't think Strays was executed well at all. I'm sorry, Vin Diesel, but you got a lot better since then.
One day he'll listen to it and be like, those son of bitches, okay, they're good.
Dark Fury, I don't think it does. I mean, it's not fair to say, do you have anything to say? But at the same time, going back a bit, you have our quote-unquote antagonist, our villain, have something reminiscent of an ideological viewpoint of a type of person Riddick is, and how does Riddick respond to that.
Yeah.
That it's something there.
You can take away that Riddick is always going to win.
I mean, by the way.
And it's cool, I guess. I mean...
all of our three main characters we know live, as well as Toombs. So it's like, this is such a bad prequel in the sense that, like, you didn't introduce anyone that's on the good guy side that we have never seen before, so that we can actually have some sort of drama or, like, suspense with, will this person live or not? I know all three of them live. I know they live. Unless they're going to be like, oh, and the Holy Man is actually a robot now. He's completely side-swapped. Unless something
he has
like
a twin
that was going to happen.
They didn't know about.
Yeah. Unless something like that was going to happen where they body-swapped. You know what I mean? This movie wasn't suspenseful at all to me. At all.
The only time I was like, I guess, suspended, I guess on edge is like, I'm like, I know she doesn't die. I'm like, how does Vin get out of this one? But it was less about, like, I'm not worried about her dying. I'm more curious of, like, how is Vin Riddick going to get out of saving her? And then he's, like, throwing her under the bus, and I'm like... And then once we find out later on why, like, he caught their bluff. So, like, that's the only time in that movie where I'm like, how are they going to get out of this? But it wasn't like, mind-blowing. It was just like, okay, sure.
Yeah, I'm torn. Part of me wants to put Multifacial above Dark Fury... simply on, like, the stance that this is, like, that means probably way more.
It's a better product.
And it was a...
Like, it's not... that's how I keep going back and forth. Is like, is this a better product?
Things.
Yeah.
Would I watch it again? I wouldn't watch either of these things again, to be honest, but, like... man.
If you're on an island and you only can bring one, that's the only type of entertainment you get. Which one are you picking?
Which would I destroy my psyche by watching over and over again? Dark Fury or Multifacial? Yeah. At least Multifacial as a good person.
We'll do our own Trolley Man. We're doing our own Trolley Man. Are you picking the Multifacial? Yeah. Are you picking the goofy cartoon?
Yeah. Oh man. Is there any other? Which way are you leaning? Because right now I'm leaning Multifacial above.
I'm leaning that, so I'm thinking that's where we go. I think let's just if that's the tiebreaker, we'll make it that.
We've discussed more about this movie than it deserves. There you have it. So far, our ranking is Saving Private Ryan, Triple X, The Fast and the Furious, The Iron Giant, Awakenings, A Man Apart, Boiler Room, The Chronicles of Riddick, Pitch Black, Knockaround Guys, Multifacial, The Chronicles of Riddick, Dark Fury, and Strays. So, that aside now, how well did Vin Diesel do in this film? His performance in this film.
It's better than Awakenings on our list, but you should read the list first, our Vin ranking.
That's right, because I forgot to do this last
Awakenings
time.
is last. Spoilers.
And this is just his performance. Number one, we fought to the death over 1 and 2, and you won. Triple X. Number 2, The Fast and the Furious. Number 3, A Man Apart. Number 4, The Chronicles of Riddick. Number 5, Boiler Room. Number 6, Multifacial. Number 7, Pitch Black. Number 8, Knockaround Guys. Number 9, Strays. Number 10, The Iron Giant. Number 11, Saving Private Ryan. And number 12, Awakenings. I can start. I think because this is animated, there is less Vin Diesel charisma in it inherently. And since I think you have to tie a little bit into the animation teams for his performance, because this is how they're visualizing him. They do not visualize him in any way that is more interesting than Pitch Black or the Chronicles of Riddick, in my opinion. I think he is a more mysterious and interesting character in Pitch Black than he is in this. And I think the Chronicles of Riddick's version of Riddick, he emotes more, he has more going on in his tenor and how he's talking than in this one. But that being said, I do think that we get a solid Riddick performance for whatever that means. I don't think he phoned it in when he did his VO lines for this one, as maybe something else we're about to talk about. I don't know where to put this either. What are your thoughts? What's going on with this?
I'm feeling like I think Awakenings, obviously, he's in it for a half a frame. Saving Private Ryan, he has some, I think, moments, but like his character it dies in the first 30 minutes, and then we never get to see him again, even though I thought like he did a decent job. But once again, it was just like more of a quantity reason for that one. And I'm only saying saying our reasonings quickly for those because I'm prefacing this with where I think we should put it. Then the Iron Giant, we put it that low mostly because he's just making like grunt noises.
42 words he said in that film. I remember that.
But they're all so filterized that it could have been grunts. I thought they were grunts from what I remembered. So and this will probably be once we get to Guardians of the Galaxy. It's going to be like, unless he's doing the mocap or anything like that, he'll probably be low on that. Just because, like you said, it lacks the Vin Diesel charisma that we get when he's actually visibly seen. I want to say, I think this is just because of those three movies there that I talked about. Iron Giant being grunts. This is another animation that he's done. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it's kind of lacking the charisma. And I think it'll be above Iron Giant but below Strays. Because Strays, he's still on screen. He's still acting. Like we see him visibly acting. Not saying that animation or voice acting's less difficult than acting, but like I think the way he acts, there needs to be like you need to visibly see him for the most part.
Right. You're right there. Vin Diesel is not a very emotive person in the way his voice is. He does it on a lot of his facial expressions and his presence on screen.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing either, by the way. I just think that is kind of his roles that he should succeed in. Is like more of a, I don't want to say monotone, but just like a deep voice, wisdom telling kind of person, a character, usually but he has moments where he's angry. He does a good anger and sadness when he's on screen. I don't think he could do that. Like if you started crying in this short, I don't think the emotion would have been there because you can't visibly see him crying. So his range of voices in an animation sense, I don't think are that good, I guess.
That's fair. So I think we'll leave it there then. Our Vin Diesel rankings as of halfway through this episode: number 1, Triple X; number 2, The Fast and Furious; 3, A Man Apart; The Chronicles of Riddick; Boiler Room; Multifacial; Pitch Black; Knockaround Guys; Strays; The Chronicles of Riddick, Dark Fury; The Iron Giant; Saving Private Ryan; and Awakenings. I think you said it all perfectly. That was him for that one. So now, let's flush our memory of this movie into the toilet, like we did many things in the Chronicles of Riddick.
You say that, flush that. I think I would flush this next thing before I flush the cartoon.
Interesting. This is tough.
Because when we talk about this game, I want to say that like the moments of having fun wasn't because of Vin Diesel. It was more just because
there's more things I can appreciate in this game that I actually had fun about it. It's just the execution of it wasn't amazing, but let's take a step back here and actually explain what we're talking about. So for the first time ever on the Chronicles of Diesel, we had to play a fucking video game. We played the 2004 original Xbox game, The Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay, developed by Starbreeze Studios. In addition to that weird studio icon that popped up in the intro, that was called Tygon Studios. Now, we saw this weird logo pop up on there, and it looked like the modern-day Tesla logo. What if I told you, Devin, that Tygon Studios is made by Vin Diesel to just be able to develop or help develop all the games with him in it? Tygon Studios has made, or at least assisted on, Escape from Butcher Bay, Wheelman, The Chronicles of Riddick: Assault on Dark Athena, Riddick: The Merc Files, and Fast and Furious Crossroads.
I mean,
it's literally just, it's a part of his one race
umbrella.
Umbrella. So I don't think that they have a staff. I think it's like, all right, we need to hire contractors to help. I think that's what it is.
I was gonna say, I was gonna give him credit, be like, hey, like, it might be cheesy or people might hate on you for that, just making a production company just simply for what you're in. But in a way, I guess it's still cool to give people work, especially in the video game industry where it's high turnover. But I guess if it's contract, but I mean, it's still, I guess it's better than no one hiring you, I guess. But
so
they also explain a lot.
Yeah. But they didn't do the bulk of work. Really, I think what Tygon ended up being a part of was mostly to deal with the licensing aspect of it, and kind of like bridging, the Chronicles of Riddick's licensors, which is Universal and Vin Diesel, to Starbreeze. Starbreeze did the work on this game, and it's actually kind of interesting. This was Starbreeze's second game. The main director is a guy going by the last name of Anderson, who was in 2018 or 2019 charged with, what would it be called? Sold off all of his shares of the company right before they went under.
Insider market, insider,
something like that.
Insider dealing.
He was charged with that, and this is a Swedish company. So I don't know how many kroner he was charged for. He ended up walking scot-free because they found out that his bank forced him to do that, and it wasn't his decision. But the Starbreeze is like gone under. Like, their stuff is all up for grabs. But they made their second game ever was the Chronicles of Diesel: Escape from Butcher Bay, and they said they made a prototype within 3 months. It took them 18 months to make the game. Their publisher, Vivendi Universal. This because Vivendi and Activision were kind of a thing, and then Vivendi split off, and then they were trying to buy Ubisoft a couple years ago. In any case, Vivendi Activision claims that this was like one of the best like pitch demos, the best one that they've actually ever seen at that point. They spent a lot of time failing on their first game to make this game, if that makes sense. They spent extra time making the engine that would make this game. And for an original Xbox game, we played this on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, like, quote-unquote, remaster that was a part of Assault on Dark Athena. All what we played is just an HD version of it. That looks that good, in quotes. So this, for an original Xbox game, it was like that. There was a PS2 version in the works, but it couldn't handle some of the graphic stuff, and they were crunching for time. They lost so much money making this game that they dropped from about 100 employees to 25.
Oof.
Right when they were in crunch time. So they requested more money, and they couldn't get a time extension because this game needed to come out on the day the movie came out. That one of the Vivendi Activision tried to actually cancel the project and leave, but somehow they were able to hold them to the contract. But the conclusion that had to be is that they dropped the PS2 version. This game is critically well received. However, it didn't sell very well because it was on the Xbox and not the PlayStation 2, which outsold the Xbox by 5 times as much.
Yeah.
We're talking 37 million versus 150 plus million. It's 5 times. So it didn't sell very well. And actually, Activision didn't even want to publish the sequel, and that's why Atari published the sequel, Assault on Dark Athena. But in any case, to take it a step back, they spent so much time making that demo and working on this game, all the technology for it, and this is well regarded as one of the best movie tie-ins video games, especially for this era. And they claim it is because they actually had it greenlit before the actual second movie was greenlit. They were working on this game as an untitled Pitch Black game, and then it became a Chronicles of Riddick game, which is very interesting. So when we talk about this, I want us to remember that this is a 2004 Xbox game, and even though it reviewed very well, the major criticism of this game is that it didn't have multiplayer. How in this 2021 mindset, if someone tells me your single player game doesn't have multiplayer, I think that's a benefit because I know that the game is actually going to be
but
better
even like 2004, like multiplayer,
this is Xbox Live's big heyday. This is like Halo is multiplayer and all.
Okay,
this
I was
stuff,
gonna say I don't really because we were younger. We were younger then, so like I didn't have, at least for me, I didn't have. Even when I had the PS2 or even when I had the PS3, I think it was like later end of the PS3 is when I finally got like an internet connection for that and like played multiplayer. I didn't play multiplayer on PS2, and my cousin who had an Xbox, I don't think he had like internet set up on the Xbox. So even then, I think it's a weird criticism for 2004. But I guess to be fair, I was younger. I don't really remember the multiplayer scene back then, so I can't really speak for it.
This is definitely the era where like no one realized that the game might not work in multiplayer if you really think about it. And would you actually want to play whatever game you're saying should have multiplayer? Do you really want to play that as multiplayer? Or is it just, it's like the novelty of, consoles can play online now. You know what I mean? The Xbox has taken us online. But yeah, so let's keep our mindset to 2004 video games. This game was heavily inspired by Half-Life. The character of Riddick, claim... the character of Riddick, they claim, is, like... Their version of it in the game is highly designed after Gordon Freeman from Half-Life. Because they said he is an iconic, strong character based off the box art because he doesn't actually talk. And you have Riddick, who would make a good video game character because he doesn't want to talk to anyone at all. So he says very few things. So you get the player gets to emote with Riddick through Riddick, and Riddick gets to comment on some of the things the player might be thinking about. So they said he's the perfect video game character. They also, and this is the thing that we will both agree on, they also really wanted to delve into his story and flesh out his complex character. I didn't notice anything like this in the game. We're not going to recap what happens in the game necessarily. We can just talk broad sense. He starts here, ends here.
Yeah, there's a lot of we should point out that like we sat down and played a good 6. How many hours was it? Do you remember exactly how many hours we played?
We played for about 7 hours, and we got through about 70% of the game.
Yeah. We struggled at moments, but there might be reasons for that we could dive into. But after watching, because we didn't eventually have to watch the, or at least I did watch a long play of it,
we watched
and
the same one.
It seemed to be more of where we dropped or where we left off. It was just more of that, and I was hoping there'd be more, I guess, Riddick backstory, but we never even got that really.
No,
I feel like the first part of the game was something cool or potentially, and then like it kind of tailed off at the end where it's just like, here's more.
It became Half-Life.
Yeah. It
became, now there's aliens involved. You know what I mean? And now we're going extra level. Even some, granted Portal wasn't out yet, but even some like scientific corporate humorous talk with the situation of the misery of people, you know what I mean, type of stuff at the very end there. But this is a prequel to Pitch Black. This is supposed to be how Riddick got the eye shine, the shine job, I think it was called, which they were told to keep it vague. This does not seem very vague at all. Like Riddick thinks that it was the guy that did it to him, and it seems like it's probably the weird vision he had. But that's not vague. We saw it happen. So
yeah,
it's supposed to be that. It's supposed to connect him a bit more to Johns, who is the bounty hunter who dies in Pitch Black. Seems like they have way more chemistry in this game than they did in the movie, or more of a history too. So maybe they fleshed it out a bit too much, in my opinion.
I thought I don't know if it was the same actor as Johns in the movie, but the voice actor I thought was not good.
He was very... That's a good point. We'll jump off there. Voice acting in this game is terrible. Johns specifically. Johns sounds as if he's asleep. He sounds...
It's like if we did it, to be honest. Like, I honestly think, like, we're not... We've done some, I guess... I don't want to say voice acting, but like we've read lines for like award shows or books, and I'm not saying that we're voice actors, but like whoever did that, it wasn't a good job. And I really think like it was the same energy as if we went in there, and even if we tried, it'd probably be around the same, I think, quality.
Ron Perlman was terrible.
He
was terrible.
He definitely went in there for an hour,
Perlman.
and it was like,
right?
Okay, here I go.
He had done video games. He's, I guess, in the video games land, most famous for being the opening voice of Fallout 3, "War never changes" type of line. I think he says. I think that's all he says is that. So like, but it's weird. He's in here, and then it's just bad. It's just completely bad. Everyone sounds as if they recorded in a large room made out of aluminum. It's a weird metallic echo of emptiness. Except Vin Diesel is slightly better, but again, I think Vin Diesel is trying harder because he would like this to be cool.
Yeah, 100%.
So, okay, basically...
I guess some of the NPCs aren't terrible, but they're like NPC level. Like 2004 NPC dialogue was fine.
You came in for your day, you read your lines, you did your best, because it's not a leading role, so you're not really, you're not being paid super well. You did your lines.
Come out, prisoner. Like,
yeah,
that's it.
Exactly.
I'm like, okay, good job. Thank you. Here's your $10 for the day.
Well, yeah, probably. That's why they're in, like, freaking everything. It's just to try to keep a money flow. Broad spectrum. The game opens up with Riddick in Johns' custody. He's taking him to Butcher Bay to get paid. He drops him off. Riddick kills Johns right away in our version, and we spent forever trying to figure out what the fuck to do.
That was the first like kind of like red flag for me. I'm like, oh boy, it's one of these games where,
yeah.
I mean, I think I've maybe not on here, but maybe during Sock Movie Show, like another or other podcast, I guess, but technically the same name. But I've said before, like I like to get my hand held in video games, and you played most of the time, well, 99% of the time, and I'm so glad you did, because that's a game right there that would frustrate the shit out of me. Like, what am I supposed to do? I'm like, just tell me where I need to go, what thing I need to pick up. Like, it's one like good thing about I think video games now is that most games, single player games, even like the bad ones, generally give you a point in the right direction. They're just like, oh, if you open your, I think there was like a the cube that pops up for the options, and it gives you kind of a loose.
Yeah, it just tells you that Riddick should probably want to do this.
Yeah, and the only other time I've seen like issues like in a lot of games from this time period and a little bit before, even the games I like had that issue where like if you like stepped away from the game for like maybe a week or two and you just forgot and you come back, you wouldn't know what you were doing or where to go.
Oh, 100%. This game. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
This game is 100% an 0451 game or an immersive sim shooter, or this is a System Shock, a Deus Ex, a Thief, a Bioshock, Prey. This is one of these types of games. And it has all of the trappings of it, including all the things that excites me about it. I legitimately liked a lot of what this game had going for it. I like that a lot of the level design was very much, if you happen to notice this ladder and this ledge was there, it made it easier for you. We want you to be paying more attention. Now, I think that didn't help us out was we were trying to beat the game in one sitting. Perhaps that might have hurt our appreciation for what it was doing.
No, yeah, that is cool.
This is definitely number one, they wanted to have way more RPG systems in here that they had to scrap. Vin Diesel actually wanted less of them in there, and he also told them to cut almost all of his voice lines because they had him talking way too much. Apparently, there was a side quest for Vin Diesel to find a rubber duck for someone, and Vin Diesel was like, "Riddick's not going to do that." No,
that's fair. It would have been funny, but like that's fair. If
I murdered all the people in this jail, I'll give you your rubber duck. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Here's your rubber duck. Yeah,
it has a lot of the you could help this person or you could kill him. It has a, like here are two ways you could get to the main guy with who we got his baseball bat and we beat him up. The black guy with the sunglasses, I forget his name, but like a mid-level antagonist for Riddick here. You know, there's two major ways of going about it, and there's a lot of you could try to figure out, puzzle your way through. You know, you're getting a couple tools. Like I liked this game for those reasons. It is certainly not my favorite 0451 game. 0451 is just like a pet name people, fans of the genre, call it because of a common kind of Easter egg in all the games. Because it's a password usually in almost all of them. As an 0451 game, it's not super good, but it's also not terrible. And as a video game tie-in, especially in the mid-2000s, this is certainly a really good 0451 game, and something that actually works more of like, hey, instead of we just made a shooter. Oh, this is okay. We're gonna follow the events of the movie, and it's a shooter. It's like, we're gonna actually try to make you think like Riddick. What does Riddick do? He hides in the shadows, and he's always sneaking up, and then he snaps your neck or stabs you in the side of your neck. Like, that kind of works for this. But
my main thing is we keep comparing it to Half-Life, or at least that's what they were trying to go for. And I didn't play the first Half-Life, only played the second. And at least in Half-Life 2, I always knew where I was going.
Yeah.
Despite
that's
the thing here in this is maybe some people prefer this. I don't. Like I said, I love to have my handhelds. I want to know where I'm going because I don't got all this time in the day to like try every option. If there's like 3 pathways to the same location, cool, which this game has at moments. But there's other moments where I think, especially after I watched the long play, I'm like, we fucked up somewhere, and it totally messed us up, and we were screwed.
Mm-hmm. This motherfucker in this video had a gun that turned all the lights off, and then he was just stealth killing everyone. I'm like, why that would have made everything so much easier.
But just like where the whole, I think it was the mines area, like the path we took, I guess was completely wrong because of certain events that happened in the long play that I watched. Because I started it right where we started to struggle, and it had nothing to do with like weapons necessarily. It's just like things were doing. Way that things were happening in that just seemed different from what we were doing. So I don't know if we went the wrong way, but there was no at any point in that game where there was a point being like, "Hey, you shouldn't go this way, or you're missing something."
Yeah.
And when in Half-Life, I feel like there's still at the end of the day there's still a general path that you're taking. It's much more linear compared to this, in my opinion.
Well, yeah,
and that's what if you're trying to compare it to that, and that's what they were going for. I think I guess like in terms of the mechanics were similar.
Half-Life 1 was very similar too. It wasn't a backtracking type of thing too much. It was.
There's a lot of backtracking in this where like you're like, am I going the right way? There's moments where like, are we supposed to go here?
Are we supposed to go back, or was there just a door that got unlocked that we didn't notice? You're right. You said like you like having your handheld. That's something that this genre struggles with all the time. There is a balance that not really any of those games have ever met, where you have super complex systems that allow for a variety of choices or a variety of ways to discover how something might fit logically, especially if this is environments that are supposed to set up like a logical world that people live in. That's why they like abandoned buildings or spaceships or cities, all this kind of stuff, because then you get to make levels out of like bathrooms and shit. And then there is the BioShock Infinite level of like, if you press down on the D-pad, a literal arrow is painted on the ground, showing you exactly the exact path you need to walk to get to where you need to go.
Yeah,
there's like a weird balance you need to strike there. I think 2017's Prey strikes it the best. It doesn't have too many.
See, when I played that I had issues of like, they'd be like, go to this room and find this thing, and I'll be in there for 30 minutes trying to find it, and that frustrated
Really?
the shit out of me. And it just like, I'm like, I'm at a good pace, I'm at a good pace. All of a sudden, I'm spending 35 minutes out in space
Yeah,
trying to find a box
exactly.
that has a key in it or something. But I get like
But
that's a personal
there are
preference.
other ways to get into that type of room, and then again, like that's a perfect balance for me because when I played System Shock 2 and the original System Shock, and even Deus Ex, I was just I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm lost. That's too much for me. But I play like the original BioShock, and I'm like, this is a baby's game in quotes because there's really no choices. You should hack everything because if you don't, it's not a choice. It's just you're deciding to make it harder. That type of stuff is not a choice to me. BioShock Infinite is really just Call of Duty. It's just it's a level based shooter. So like for this game, it is trying to strike a balance, in my opinion, because there's really no choices. It's besides stealth or fighting. The gunplay sucks.
Oh, it sucks.
And that's not by design. It's not one of these things because there are times where people argue like, oh, well, the gunplay in BioShock isn't all that good because they want you to try to think. It's just not good. But there's an argument like maybe that is the case. Maybe they do have the sway on the guns a little bit too much so that it is hard to shoot. For this one, is just not really good as a shooter. As like a stealth kind of game, especially in the video we watched, it's a good first person stealth game. This is like Thief. I loved Thief, the 1998 Thief game. Especially
I haven't played it, but like
lot.
I know of it and I know its
Yeah.
influence. Like a game I've played
and
called
this is-
Gloomwood, or the demo of it that I'm really hyped for it to come out, is 100% like their main influence is Thief. And like, but to me, at least from a little bit I did play, and then watching you, there was moments when the stealth was really cool and awesome. And in the long play, I feel like the stealth was so much easier for them. But when we were doing it, dudes would be turned around and somehow finding us in the weirdest ways, even when we were in the dark. So I don't know if we broke the game at some point, which could have been
18 months in development. I think 16, 18 months. This isn't like a super long in development game. Though that might be on average for games of that era.
I think
there's definitely a level of jank. There's definitely a low budget.
yeah.
So that's why I think this is a miracle of a licensed movie video game, in that like, hey, they actually decided to think about what the genre might be, and they actually tried their best to make that cool. You know?
Yeah, there's moments where I think it's cool, and but then it's like, I'm like, they were so close, but I felt also so far at moments where I'm just like,
straight up, right?
Yeah.
This is a game where I'm like, we haven't played Assault on Dark Athena, and we will in a couple more episodes. 5 more episodes to be exact. It's episode 16. We'll play Assault on Dark Athena. I don't know if that game is good or bad. All I know is that people looked fondly upon this as an Xbox original game that was fun to play. I never heard anyone talk about Assault on Dark Athena, so perhaps it's bad. Who knows? But playing this, I'm like, I would actually want someone to do this again with this Riddick IP. Just give it another shot. You know what I mean? Just see what you can do.
remaster that is, or a remake maybe of just this game, potentially. Like, but like,
Yeah,
fix
sure,
the stealth,
actually.
fix the gunplay a little bit. And I bet like some of the levels, like you said, like there was one moment where we were really struggling, and like the idea is like, you go up this ladder that we found, and you take this railing,
Or just you have to be really, really good at trying to brute force your way through.
Yeah. And I will say, too, also one critique I think we encountered pretty early on, like within the first 15 minutes, was the difficulty scale. I was going to say curve, but it's a scale because it goes from, I think, 10 to like 100 all of a sudden.
Yeah.
When there's guns involved,
Whenever
it's
there's-
so much harder.
Mhm.
When there's no
Yeah.
guns, it's too easy.
But that's the thing. It goes from, even when there's gunplay, it goes from this is way too hard to, oh my god, I'm a god. Oh my god, it's way too hard again. Even when it is just with guns, it's very confusing in that sense.
And the environments are almost at moments too small, or then sometimes too big. There's too much going on at multiple
hard
levels.
To see.
Hard to see.
Enemies don't glow. Your crosshair doesn't turn a different color when you're highlighting an enemy. All that kind of stuff where it's like they really want you to think about approaching the situation as a stealth game.
Like Riddick.
Like Riddick would. I mean, would Riddick do any of the gun stuff in this? No.
Yeah,
He
even
doesn't do that.
yeah,
He like hides and then he stabs people and then he says something.
or he
jackass to them.
or he'll like verbally get himself out of a situation. When we were playing it too, we also discussed like, what if they got rid of all the gun stuff, or make it very limited, like at most you have a pistol, and made this more of a stealth, and then kind of choose your own adventure, like a Walking Dead kind of situation where you saying certain things to certain people makes them turn against you maybe later on when you need them most or need their assistance, or prison politics, I think is what you said. Which I think would have been really neat. And I guess we can kind of talk about the plot there, or the lack thereof.
We'll get to that in a second. We'll just do a straight run through of what the overall story is.
I like how we started with just the beginning. We just went like a rant of like all the technical. It's fine though. It's just funny.
But we need to set the scene with all this kind of stuff. Like the pacing of the combat starts off teaching you how to do a neck snap from behind. Then it gives you guns. Then it takes the guns away. Makes you earn your guns, which is cool. Like, he needs to put his DNA in the system to get the gun, to allow him to actually use these guns. Then there's a whole lot of gunplay. And then there's no gunplay until the very end of the game. Very, very end. As soon as there's aliens, then you get your gunplay back. We spent more time without gunplay, which I actually appreciate, than with gunplay. Excuse me. So it's a weird pacing thing with that. I agree that they should have dropped all the guns, except maybe you could, through some special means, earn the zapper that we never got because I killed the guy to buy it from. But he didn't drop it. You know how we got that vent tool? By killing the people? You could have bought it off of them. So
could have talked to them.
A little bit weird them too. I just decided to kill them. Like, I would have gotten rid of all the guns. Maybe through like a big side quest, you could earn the thing because it's easy to take the lights out with the zappy gun, right? And it's a lot of stealth and the fist fighting, which was stupidly bad but yet satisfying, of just mashing R2 on the PS3 version of this to just repeatedly punch and counter, maybe holding L2 to block every now and then, but not really needing to. And it's just a goofy but yet satisfying like power play kind of thing. Like, you feel like you're really powerful. The way the camera wildly shifts and pans as you're just gorilla swinging an arm.
Dude,
it doesn't make any
that was
sense.
one of my favorite like things of the game, was just the gorilla arms of.
It's just so stupid.
It wasn't like a punch. It really was just like a side swipe of a hand.
We need to make sure it's on screen.
Yeah.
So that you know you did it.
Yeah, and then just imagine and then like the sound effect mixed with the screen shake made it feel like you had cinder blocks for hands. It's just like, I did like that.
It makes you feel good.
Yeah,
it made you feel good.
If the whole if the whole game was that, I wouldn't have been mad either. Like, if it was just hand to hand combat the entire game, that'd have been dope too.
Yeah.
Maybe a knife in there or a crowbar for your Half-Life reference.
Like Half-Life, yeah. Also, there were grenades. When did we? I never saw any grenades.
No,
motherfucker was throwing grenades at the end of the video.
Dude was throwing grenades. People were throwing grenades at us, and we couldn't see where they were.
Yeah, like, straight up turrets on the wall. I didn't know were there. In any case, broad walk through the story of this game. After a dream sequence, Johns has taken Riddick to Butcher Bay. There's an argument over money. Riddick is there. We killed everyone, all the prisoners there, because we thought, it'd be funny if they let you. Oh shit, they do. Let's kill them all.
If we can, on the really YouTube version of this, if you really want to see, maybe you'll throw in some of the footage of us just murdering everybody in the very opening area, and they let us get away with it. That was the highlight of the whole thing, and it was really. I'm glad it was at least in the beginning to. Guess I'm like, get one positive out of the 7 hours was that, like, hey, we got to kill everybody and it let us. That's dope.
There is one technical aspect I want to talk about. Let's get through the story. So we go through all that stuff where you can't pick up any of the guns because they're DNA encoded. which is a really cool way of forcing you to not get guns, which is I think they should have just did for the whole entire game until the end where you finally get a gun, right? We did this with our Sonic movie show episode about our Resident Evil game, where you can't use Sonic super speed until the very end. You know what I mean? Like, as a fun way of, like, your limitations are broken, how you can truly be
a god.
You know, like, awesome. Yeah, exactly, right? So he does that, and then he gets captured, and he doesn't get captured. He breaks free into the sewers, where he meets Pope Joe,
one of our favorite characters.
Our very when we were following this man walking, the best way I could describe him is he is making fun of gay people, or as he would probably call
stereotype.
The homosexuals.
Yeah, the stereotyped walking.
But my interpretation, interpretation aside, he's just a weird character. The funny way I saw it was, it's not them making a gay character and then making fun of it. It's almost a way as if someone in real life were to be making fun of gay people and how they walked. That's how he was walking.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Shitty character. Stan's kind of funny, though.
At one point,
I don't think is offensive, but just, like, he's weird.
Yeah, maybe we could throw a clip in there for that, where it's just, he's like, there's one moment where, like, you walk to his, like, office or his domain, back from picking something up for him, and, like, he's just, like, standing, his feet are angling one way, and the rest of his body is looking at you, and he's like, oh, I didn't see you there, kind of, like, pose that he's doing, and just...
And then we rolled flares underneath him, and his feet just kind of like do a little tiny step up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He definitely wasn't supposed to be moved in any way.
No, just hilarious. Yep. So he gets the eye shine or the shine job here.
And that's what makes it even better is that his eye shine is from this character.
He's called Pope Joe because he gets visions, apparently.
Yeah.
And Riddick doesn't give a fuck about anything like that. But there's still this woman in his fucking head who gives him these visions too, is like on his side, but also is like trying to guide him. But like when,
and one like I guess plot hole that we found I guess with this too was that they don't make any reference to him having visions in Pitch Black. They don't make any references to him having visions in Dark Fury. They don't have any reference of him having visions until halfway through.
I think he gets
Chronicles
a
of
vision
Riddick.
in Dark Fury, I think. Maybe very briefly where things just kind of flash. Maybe.
I don't remember.
Maybe that's not it. Pitch Black, we obviously can't nail
Oh, it was at the
that.
end of Pitch Black. It was after there was like a or no, I'm thinking of the ending of this game. There's like those like more visions he gets at the end of the credits of this game.
Yeah. This is a failing on, but it's a failing on this game. But at the same time, they're trying to build more of a lore. They could at least do something where like they establish it as this happens extremely rarely, so therefore it could be an entire movie's length where he doesn't get one, and he has no idea what they are. And I think he doesn't have any idea what they are in this game anyway. It's just an acknowledgement of that maybe. But he gets his shine job. He can now see in the dark. He picks up goggles. His literal only piece of gear that's iconic to him in terms of the outfits he wears in these movies. He gets from Pope Joe's sweaty desk. Slaps him on. Oh, by the way, they don't take his goggles when they put him back in prison.
When they want to make sure he looks good.
I guess. So he's now breaking through the security guards like city, I guess. He almost beats what's his name to a pulp. One of the main guard guys that he has a personal grudge against now and needs to kill. He is unfortunately stopped short. Johns is there. So is
just like lurking in this dude's apartment.
Yeah. So is Hoxie, who is the guy who's in charge of Butcher Bay. He's the warden, I guess you would call it. And I have a plot hole with this as well. You know how fucking dangerous he is. They need to have a big twist at the end. How there's like a Cairo Freeze ultra hell prison. That's a part of Butcher Bay. Why don't you just fucking throw him there, like, right then and there? You know he almost
taxpayers.
Killed you.
Too much taxpayer money. I don't know.
Bullshit.
I don't know. You're right. No, you're right, though. 100%. Doesn't make any sense.
Now we're in Ultra Butcher Bay, the mines, where people's cells are actual, like, shipping containers that they are moved throughout the mines.
Which I thought was cool. I thought that was a cool concept. Each cell is its own container, and they just move you whenever they see fit, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it kind of makes it interesting, like
more
no pun, like not like in a.
Person.
I'm not trying to make this a pun, but like literally building a world where like each thing is stacked on top of each other. So you like your room would be like, oh, I'm on the 5th level of 100 of these crates.
It's a way to make you feel tiny, small, and worthless to break you. You know what I mean? So you don't escape. That's unfortunately the title of this game is called Escape from Butcher Bay. And he does so. So we go through. We joined a fight ring. Where
that was
punched people to death.
That was fun.
4 or 5 times. It was kind of fun. Yeah, you're right. And this is where they started sowing seeds of like there's a bunch of people you could talk to. And I'm sure that there were side quests to do, and I'm sure there was ways to talk your way into learning information. We just didn't do any of that. We followed the critical path because we wanted to beat the game. And we just, anytime we could, crouch behind someone, snap their neck.
Yeah.
Crouch behind someone,
unfortunately, we couldn't kill everyone in this area because there's a bunch of turrets watching, and they would just they wouldn't even like you get like 2 seconds to like run. So like it would have to have been such a clean kill.
At least in the first jail, they threw you back into an open cell.
Yeah.
Where you could just immediately walk right back out.
Stop doing that. I'll put you in your timeout room, and then you still go right back out there and do it again.
The fight ring area is where we got the guards that groped Vin Diesel twice.
Yeah, you could keep going and doing that. I don't want to call it
over and over
the
again.
animation. I guess again, I don't want to say cutscene, but just
weird.
That whole dialogue again, where they're like, "We need to search you." It's so weird.
Oh yeah, speaking about dialogue, this game has every now and then like dialogue options, but it's mostly like, "Do you want to do the thing? Yes or no." A way of saying yes and a way of saying no. Right?
There was one time where like we said no, and he said maybe.
That's true.
We were like, "That's not no, Vin." That's still a possible yes.
Vin needs to learn about consent. No means no.
Yeah.
No is not maybe.
Shit.
Yeah, so we're getting through that area. We break down into the mines. We're trying to find Ron Perlman's character, or whatever the fuck his name was. We now spend an hour and a half in real time trying to just do something that is 200 feet away from us, trying to get a box. And, like, we tried brute forcing it, we tried being clever, we tried just gaming the system, we tried playing by the system's rules and having it be like, no, this guy's not going to turn around. He's going to
I remember we waited, I think it was like
forever.
A good 2 minutes, where we were just sitting up top on the ledge, waiting for the guy to turn around. It never happens. And that's what made me so frustrated when I watched the long run. I'm like, everything worked out perfectly for this guy. Yeah. Either this dude plays this game too much, or
I think that's the case.
Or like his game was just running better or something, or we broke the loop of how the characters were supposed to move, because in that long run, that one tunnel where we got to the part where we were struggling, the robot mech thing like went down the hall for some reason, and like it didn't happen to us in our run. And I'm like wondering if we went the wrong way and it just messed up everybody's like path or something.
Routes. Yeah, probably. Yeah. So we get the package, and then Ron Perlman's like, if you placed a bomb there, you'd let all the aliens in Butcher Bay. He's like, okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds dope. Let's do it.
So we're sneaking back through. Oh, but in order to get a bomb, we need to go back to the beginning of this entire area. So we do. At this point, it's no longer we, but Riddick does. Gets a bomb by a guy who then immediately dies. Because it's a setup or something, but he still gets a bomb anyway. At one point, though, we do get to drive the giant mech, which was fun diversion, kind of
I remember we were playing. I'm like, this is just the Tails level, and Sonic Adventure 2. The where auto aim without the auto aim, but like just going through an area, keep holding down X or whatever what button it was to shoot, and hope for the best. And then they still wind up dying at one point because you took too much damage. So you had to kind of think about it, but I don't know. Yeah, because those weird like War of the World tripod things.
Oh yeah,
wrecked you.
What they call them the
that was the only time they were in it. In the entire game we saw them was just them there.
who knows? Maybe there was going to be more about it. At one point in this game, you were supposed to get a car and drive away and have to stop at a gas station or something.
Where in this world?
Yeah, I don't know where. But that idea got scrapped like immediately.
I wonder why.
It's just a fun thing I picked up.
Where is there a road?
The mech thing is probably there to give you that the limitations are broken. You couldn't get a gun for the longest time. Now you have the ultimate gun. But it just didn't feel super satisfying. But in any case, yeah, he gets back, gets the bomb, takes a train ride, fixes the train ride, gets back, places the bomb. Now the aliens, these weird aliens that are they're very Half-Life inspired, super Half-Life inspired.
I like how they are
just head crabs.
The first cutscene we got was it's like a small one came out, took the dude's head off, and then whipped it into the other one's mouth and ate it. And I'm like, that's a weird way of living as creatures. It's just like, oh, I killed thing from my friend. But then it went inside the other one. I was very confused.
It's like he was driving them or something. But like, I'm actually cool. I like
it was cool. It was just super
goofy. Not explain how they work. I like when we see aliens and we don't get to have the explanation of how they work.
Just driving a car.
I like that. Yeah. Vin Diesel calls them beautiful creatures, and he jumps down the hole and chases after them. Shotguns every single thing in sight. Because he could finally pick up a gun that isn't DNA encoded, I guess. I don't really know how that worked. I think they were just like, this is the part in Half-Life where you shoot all of the aliens, so here you go, here's your shotgun. He gets another gun as well. Fights. He's breaking free now. He is on the run. He's let all the aliens out. Everyone needs to evacuate. There's 5 ships left. There's 4 ships left. There's 3 ships left. There's 2 ships left. There's 1 ship left. He gets to the last ship. Ron Perlman's there. Ron Perlman, who I thought was supposed to be, in the one time we saw him standing around and we talked to him, like the smart one. He figured out a way. He's like the guy, the top dog. He's an idiot. Johns shows up. These motherfuckers are trying to open up a door. When they leave the fucking hatch door open, close the door while you're trying to open up this one. Johns gets in, fights Riddick a little bit. Ron Perlman shoots through both of them and says, "I got him, Riddick."
And then there's a really bad scene here where like they come in and mow him down, but it's like way too long, and like he stands there, and then like it shows them firing, then it cuts to him getting hit. But like I'm like it felt like the gunfire would have already killed him by now, and he's like, oh, yeah.
He's like he's being juggled in a fighting game,
yeah,
just by the bullets. You know, the impacts are just keeping him 3 more frames before he falls down. 3 more frames before he falls down. And you know what? This is the final fucking straw. Riddick, you're going in Cairo sleep freeze.
You literally destroyed our entire upper fortress.
Kill him.
Yeah,
you're bad guys. Just kill him.
He's worth so much, I guess. I don't know.
But to who? The fame of seeing you have Riddick?
Same for General Grievous, you know. Could have frozen.
That's true. But yeah. He's now in Cairo freeze in like a facility in the sky or something like that. But it's still Butcher Bay, I think. Whatever. He only gets 2 minutes of exercise a day. I don't know why they need to wake him up, but apparently it's a law that they're trying to appeal, which is a kind of a funny line that was thrown out. It's your only right, and we're trying to appeal it. And then, Riddick tricks the fucking room full of cameras and puts another person in his pod, so he's still awake. He kicks his pod, this giant metal container that he's in. He kicks it off of the pyramid several times. It cracks open.
Those things must have been not weighing that much for him to do that. Right. I would have guessed those things would be weighing like a ton, but whatever.
Right. Opens up.
Or just locked in.
We're gameplaying again. And he just gameplays and gameplays and gameplays. We're blowing up mechs. He gets a super big mech that is doing the whole corporate kind of funny talk. You know, it was okay. It wasn't terrible. We've seen it better in other places. And then we're at the final part now, where Johns is there. Johns get in the ship, and it almost seemed as if he's going to help him. And nope, I'm taking you to another place.
I thought it was funny too. Right before the ship got there, he was running, and all the security dudes just stormtrooper themselves, where they couldn't hit him. At one point, he stops moving. He's like, where am I going to go? I'm like, you still can't hit him? And then, like, they even said, like, later on, they're like, shoot to kill. And I'm like, what were you do? So were you not shooting to kill before? Like, what's happening, y'all?
Shoot to inconvenience.
Yeah.
Shoot for suspense. Yep, Johns is there. Yay. Okay, now Johns is knocked out because he's not a good pilot. And Riddick crashes the ship straight into Hoxie's office, hops out and tries to joke or whatever and says, how much will you give me for Johns? Ha ha ha. And then Hoxie's like, oh, sure, whatever you want. And then, oh, yeah, of course my office has fucking security robots in that can go invisible. Riddick easily dispatches them in the video we watched.
Yeah.
I'm sure that would have been a tough as hell boss fight. Because that's the last
I was going to say, I don't think we would have made it this far because we had no guns. Like most of the game, and I think it might have been because we killed so many people, and like what he was using like different guns at different points, and I'm like, yeah, man, it's probably better off that we just watched the. I don't think we would have made it. Like if we just did like a nonstop night, we would have been up till like 4 a.m. I think. By the time
I will say, I'm going to use this video to help me beat the game and get all the trophies for it for sure, at some point in the distant future, but because I would. This is the type of game to me that I think I would have more fun if I knew exactly what to do.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Riddick's good. Riddick's done. Riddick gets in a new plane or in a new ship, and he's tricked. Him and Johns have tricked security guards into shooting Hoxie, killing him because they think that he's Riddick, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I just wish they just killed him and just left his. The fact that they tied him up, they're like, it's Riddick. I'm like, y'all are no wonder you couldn't hit Riddick because y'all blind. Like, literally had lights on him. They're like, it's Riddick. I'm like, is it? It's not your boss.
Yeah. Who's like screaming, even though he's muffled, he's still screaming. Like, you should know. Wait, hold on. And yeah, that's it. Credits. Yay.
And there's like no sound in the credits, like halfway through.
Yeah. Oh, I stopped. I had to watch Dark Fury.
Well, there's after credit scenes of from Chronicles of Riddick.
Is it straight from the movie?
There's like I think a mix between like I couldn't tell because it was happening so quick, but I think it was either a mix of direct shots from the movie and also parts from the game or whatnot, like kind of spliced. It was like a good like 20 seconds, but
shouldn't they tease Pitch Black? Because that's the actual movie that takes place after this game.
You know, was that? See, I don't remember if that was or was that Dark Fury? I don't remember. Whatever. There was some sort of ending cutscene in one of these two things we saw.
Okay.
God damn it.
I didn't watch the credits for either of them, so maybe it could have been either one as far as I know.
Actually, Iron Man came out and was like, I want you to be a part of the Avengers Initiative. Riddick.
Yeah.
And he said, fuck you, and left.
So, that's the story. And I want to say there's a couple, like I said, the gameplay of it, I feel like worked enough, especially it being a licensed game. And if they had more time or more people, like essentially a bigger budget, then I think the game would have been actually really well done. I will say there is one technical achievement that I think they did really well, that they're not first to do this. Halo and Metroid Prime beat this game to it, but you have a first-person game that goes into third-person stuff that isn't just the main game. In Halo, it goes to third-person whenever you drive a vehicle. In Metroid Prime, it goes to third-person whenever you go and you turn into the ball. It's a way that it seamlessly jumps back out from first to third, right? All three of these games are first-person shooters where you actually have a character model that isn't just floating arms and like an overlay for a helmet or whatever, right? There's an actual character model to Riddick in this, just like Samus and Master Chief in those other two games. And I thought it was annoying at first whenever you'd climb a box or a ledge. It actually was really well done to see there's context around when you climb up. It zooms out, you see him climb up, or when he's climbing a ladder. Some of the camera work was actually really well done. Maybe it would have gotten a little bit annoying if we kept playing or if we had to start the game over, or we got lost. If we got lost, maybe it got annoying. But like, it made the game feel more like, oh yeah, that's Riddick doing this. That's Riddick. Riddick is still playing. I didn't forget that. Oh yeah, I'm playing as a Vin Diesel character model. You know what I mean? You get to see it, and it isn't terribly done, because there's a way in which you would get disoriented very easily if they did it poorly. And I was never disoriented. I knew exactly where I was as soon as it went back to first person. And
I think for the most part, yeah. But there was a couple of moments I remember that we were like, ugh, this was ucky.
Frame rate wise.
Or where like you climb up a box or something, and like just the angle would be a little weird. But once again, for 2004,
that's the thing. We have to remember this is a 2004 Xbox game.
Yeah, I remember we were like this. Like some of the rooms were like super wet looking too. Yeah. But we're like once again 2004, and they were like, it literally was on the box. It said the best looking Xbox game.
And I think that might actually be the case, because that was a really good-looking Xbox.
Honestly, game. Like, if you showed me just footage and told me when to guess when that came out, like, just based off the... If you just sent me, like, screenshots of it, I would have been, like, 2008.
07. Yeah. 07, 08. I would have think that would have been
like
Xbox 360 game.
Yeah, PS3, yep.
Not an Xbox game. But yeah, they really took advantage of all of the stuff that the Xbox could do. The Xbox was, on a performance level... the most powerful of the three. GameCube could do more graphic stuff that Xbox couldn't, but they both trounced the PlayStation 2, and that's why that version got canceled. I would have loved a GameCube version of this game, to be honest. So yeah, that we talked at length about our gripes and what I think was cool about the gameplay. We've never done a video game for this, so I don't know when we get to stop talking about this game, because when it's a movie, we're done when we get to reach the credits.
Yeah.
Is there anything else about this game you want to talk about?
I mean, like I said, I think it had something going for it. I don't know if this... Like, would you say this game is good? I guess.
Yeah. For an Xbox game in 2004, I'd say it's very good. I wouldn't say it's great. I'd say it's very good.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's so hard for me to, like, pinpoint where I am on it, because, like, part of me is just like, man, I would never play that game. But also part of me was like, I had a lot of fun with, like, killing all the dudes, and I'm glad that stuff was in it, because if you took that out of it, I would have probably been like, how much longer, Ethan, do we have of this? I know we did get to that point when we were just really struggling.
We were both kind of like, I kind of want to stop. We're like,
yeah.
just watch the ending to this.
Yeah,
this ain't gonna get any easier.
But yeah, I mean, I kind of go back and forth in my head of like how I feel about it. Like, it was definitely had some fun moments or fun ideas. I don't know if it's could have been executed any better or worse at moments. But I think it'd be cool, like you said, to maybe, like, hopefully in the future we get another IP of this. Either maybe of this game or the general idea. I still wish that maybe it stuck more to stealth rather than gunplay. It could have been more of a Thief as opposed to a Half-Life.
Yeah. And especially because, again, Riddick himself doesn't really use guns, or at least in the movie he's not given an opportunity. He's more of like this weird brute character that somehow is able to blend in with the shadows very well.
Yeah.
And he kills with a knife.
I mean, I like it. I think, I guess that's where I'm kind of, I keep going back and forth whether or not I think it's good, bad, ugly, or all three at the same time. I think my biggest gripe with it, though, was the AI was super frustrating at moments. Where it was just like they would just like almost auto aim to you, or like auto lock onto you through walls. Yeah. Like there's sometimes they're pre-firing us, and I'm like, how do they even know we're here? And other times, like I'm like, how are you not seeing us?
Yeah.
Like I remember one time you figured out how to like move the mech by just sitting behind it, and the mech would just naturally move. Like just stuff like that, where I'm like, you could tell it like some parts of the game were rushed, probably, or the AI move was rushed a little bit,
or just limited, just because it's 2004.
True. Yeah.
in a sense, you know what I mean? But
It's so hard to tell, I guess.
To me, I think the game is good. I was surprised at the graphics. I was surprised at how well the game looked. I was surprised at the fact that it was an 0451 game and it wasn't bad at it. It wasn't bad at it. It wasn't great at it. It was solid, if that makes sense. It was a solid experience that I found a little bit of enjoyment out of when I wasn't frustrated by shitty AI. You talked about the combat AI. I was just frustrated that it seems like we can never get the AI when we're in stealth mode to recreate what happened the last time we tried doing this segment. We're hanging on this ledge for 2 minutes.
I feel like a good stealth
the first
game.
Time we got to
a
this
good stealth
room,
game really is just a puzzle game of like memorizing paths, knowing when to take down an enemy and when not to, when to let them, when to wait, when to maybe interact with the environment to make them come a certain direction. I think the game maybe needed a way to distract the enemy or turn something on, throw a rock, whistle, something like that.
Yeah.
Really, I think that hurt it. But there's moments when I was like, okay, this is fine. Like, it's very grounded and it works. But then there's moments where like, okay, you died, restart, and then like now the AI is not turning around for some reason. I don't know if it's because we died so often that it broke the game, and that goes back to like it's hard to tell whether or not we broke the game. Did we kill too many people in the beginning of the game that it just messed up the loop?
Or if it's like
there was a general path they want us to take and we fucked it up somewhere.
Yeah. The AI was limited or broken. I'm not sure which one it actually is. I think it might even be down to like this AI only starts its route due to timing reasons when the player reaches this part, so that they're not in a weird spot. We want them to see them at least either in A, B, or C position. If they're on D or E, then that's actually not what we want. So we'll wait until they're about here, then the character will start moving. Oh, you died. We forgot something in the RAM now, and you moved over here.
Yeah,
so
like I think our main issue with like the robot and stuff, like in that one mine place, is because we went the wrong way. We weren't supposed to go to the shaft or take those the elevator mining things up. Like
it was like something obvious we were supposed to do first, and we just didn't see it. And then since there wasn't a hard lock of like you can't continue till you pick up the thing, we just kept going until we were like, oh shit.
We thought it was a glitch at one point where we couldn't enter the shaft because and all up until that point it was like, oh yeah, you get in these.
Yeah.
And even give us an option to like click it. It should have been like, you need this specific tool, which can be found here.
Press triangle to open the vent. Okay, I pressed it. The option just disappears. It's not like there's no there's no bzz.
Yeah, it didn't help too. And then your controller wasn't working either, which is a whole other issue that we had. So we thought maybe
I fixed it that night.
We thought maybe it was the controller, but then like it was letting us go on the ladder with triangle. And I remember I Googled it. I'm like, is this a weird glitch? And eventually we found out where we had to go. But it was just, a lot of stuff like that. That goes back to my one critique of like, I need a game to like tell me where to go. And I think if you weren't there, I would have given up on this game. At that point, I think I would have been like, you know what, this ain't for me. If I have to keep looking it up where I need to go, I don't know. Because there's a couple moments where like you would see something that I didn't see, or vice versa. Like I think best way I was helping, I felt like was like, hey, did you see that turret on the wall there? Like, oh no, I didn't.
Sometimes I wouldn't notice it.
It's like I was just stuck at eyes looking at the wall because we'd be there for 15 minutes getting mowed down by an unknown bullet.
So now we need to rank this on the movie ranking list.
Yeah.
And it sounds preposterous and hard. I think a good way of doing that is taking a step back. Gameplays and movies are two different ways of telling a story. They are two different mediums, they're two different art forms, but they share a lot of things in common. They share characters, they share narrative, if a video game wants to have a narrative, and if a movie wants to have a narrative. There are movies that don't have narratives. It's a documentary or anything like that. Like, there is tone, there is world building. A lot of the stuff, like this game has stuff that we can compare to other things on this movie ranking list. I guess we have to now call this a media ranking list, not a movie ranking list. But I think it'd be hilarious if we just still call it
an art ranking list.
Exactly. Yeah. So to me, I think the characters are all bad. I think the voice acting is all bad. I think the world design is cool. And I think that it does come down to level design. Making levels for this style of a video game requires you to make cool environments, if that makes sense. Ones that feel realistic. And I feel like that was good-ish.
There's moments where I'm like, there's hallways that didn't make any sense, like just in terms of spacing.
Yeah,
Some of the rooms were kind of difficult with enemies in them.
We're not even talking about just the gameplay sense itself, but like the world that you're in.
The world, yes. I'm saying more like the level
good-ish.
design itself. There was at moments. So,
Right.
But yeah,
the narrative itself is very minimal because of how they're doing this as a video game. And I don't think it was super good. I think any cutscene that we had wasn't super well done. Some of it was like, okay, but like none of it was like, wow, that was really good. Besides maybe just the graphical spectacle of this being a 2004 Xbox game, to me, I don't think that the narrative or any of the cutscenes were good. There was
some funny
okay
dialogue
at
here and there
best.
that just kept me loose for now. But like, if it was supposed to be taken seriously, it wasn't. It wasn't getting
Exactly.
that across.
So, besides those aspects, and obviously, I guess like music or whatever, but like acting was not good. You know what I mean? The character growth and all that, like just anything like anything that you would traditionally see in a story in a movie that's in this game is not really well done. Just it's a cool world and a cool.
It's kind of hard
thing
too,
that you
though.
get
In
to see
2004
this
video
character
games, I
do.
feel like once again, I didn't play that many video games in 2004, but I feel like video games back then, like even ones that are more story driven, like Master Chief doesn't talk really, and there's no character development
Metal
really.
Gear Solid though, 1998. Metal
Okay,
Gear
yeah, but I'm
Solid,
saying generally speaking, most games I
Okay.
feel like didn't have, even ones that maybe were like a story game. The goal isn't for a character to change over time. When I think in movies, that's more the case.
Well, yeah.
So I think we got to keep that in mind as well when we're comparing it. Like, while Riddick might have not changed over time, because is there a reason to in this game? Is that the whole point of this game? No, the game is to have fun in the game, and less
Yeah,
about
be Riddick.
with while being in the Riddick or like the game's basically just being like, do you want to be Riddick?
Yeah.
It's like when you,
That's my answer.
yeah. So
Okay, so here's our movie ranking list as of the second half of this episode. Number 1, Saving Private Ryan. Number 2, Triple X. Number 3, The Fast and the Furious. I can't believe we're doing this. Number 4, The Iron Giant. Number 5, Awakenings. Number 6, A Man Apart. Number 7, Boiler Room. Number 8, The Chronicles of Riddick. Number 9, Pitch Black. 10, Knockaround Guys. 11, Multifacial. 12, The Chronicles of Riddick Dark Fury. And 13, Strays. Okay, based off some of the things, I think this is better than Strays. I think this is better than Dark Fury. Maybe better than Multifacial. Maybe?
it's so hard.
Do we-
It's so
can-
like it was already hard to compare a 35-minute cartoon to full-length features for the most part.
Now we gotta compare it to a video game.
Now I compare it to a
And-
video game that can change in duration, can change in experience based off what platform you played it on, whether or not your controller was breaking, whether or not
I fixed my controller after you left. I just had to fix the piece of foam.
or whatnot, right? Or maybe your skill level, you might not be good at video games, so maybe you struggle more. Those kind of things. When you watch a movie, the only thing that maybe it might be different from other people is how you interpret the information being shown on screen or whatnot. And I feel like it's just different way to look at things. But I guess, and it also is funny, is like I feel like a lot of time too we do like tiebreakers based off. When we watch this again, how do you? I'd rather watch something than play a whole video game again.
I do want to finish this game. I want to get all the trophies in it because I did have some fun playing it. And I think if I learned more about how the game worked, like watching that playthrough, I might actually have more fun playing it. So I mean, if we're going by this metric,
I mean, I feel like it's like one of the metrics we've gone.
Would you go back to it?
Yeah.
If I went to the would I go back to this again metric, I would literally put this at number 6. But that's not where this is going.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I know we've used that as like almost a tiebreaker kind of thing. But I'm just trying to think of all the ways we've broken this up over time, and does it apply now to a video game? I don't know.
Do you? Okay, so
I will say though, I do think it's
just gut reaction.
Okay.
Do you think it's better than Strays?
Yes.
Do you think it's better than Dark Fury?
Yes. And that's.
Do you think it's better than Multifacial?
Maybe.
I'm at maybe for that one too. Now,
but it's more...
do you think it's better? Do you think it's better than Knockaround Guys?
No. I think we're in like 3 tiers in this movie ranking, and that's like where the second tier starts for me. It's like because like
I would almost say 4 tiers, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
this bottom tier is the bad. Is the bad.
Generally, yeah.
Those are bad.
Multifacial I don't think is bad, though. I think it's just, like, it's hard to compare it to...
Amateurish as hell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It has heart, which is the only thing that's redeemable about it, is the fact that it has heart.
Yes.
It's still bad. It's still bad. It has heart.
That's kind of how you can honestly describe this video game like that, too, at moments, where maybe it wasn't great at moments, but it's still...
There's just good stuff in there.
There's heart.
You have to dig through the mud to get it.
Yeah.
I definitely think it is not better than Knockaround Guys, so I'm with you on that. Which therefore means we also think it is not as good as the 2 movies, for real. Do we want to put this above Multifacial?
I think it's so hard to tell.
I think I want to.
See, part of me is saying I was leaning more towards no, just because of I liked Vin Diesel's performance in it, but once again, that's more for the Vin ranking. I just think Multifacial is a better product in the sense of everything in it is decent. The voice acting's garbage in this game. The AI is not good in this game. When Multifacial was just like, it was amateur. This is a professional studio.
But for as many things about Butcher Bay that we think are bad, there's things about it that we were pleasantly surprised with. The graphics, the camera work, how smooth some of the stealth and non-gunplay combat was better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
and just the execution of all that stuff is better than I thought it would be, and I think those are good.
To be fair, Multifacial we thought wasn't going to be anything either, and then we're like, wow. I don't know. How I'm breaking this down is like one's an amateur where Vin got $100,000 from somewhere, and this is probably more than that much money into this game, and spent how much more longer on it, and they did all right. That's what it's really a toss up for me. I will say this. Generally speaking, out of like media, I think I always will prefer movies over video games, so keep that in mind.
And I am the opposite side of that coin for that.
Like if I could only watch movies for the rest of my life or play video games for the rest of my life, I'd pick movies in a heartbeat.
I would pick games in a heartbeat.
Which is why I think that makes our show good.
Man.
But I don't know.
Multifacial or the fun I had playing.
But think about that hour and a half.
Bay.
Was there any moment in
but I could have stopped and come back later.
Is there any moment in Multifacial where you're like, oh my god?
I mean, Multifacial is short and to the point. You're right on that.
There was never a moment in Multifacial where I'm like, Jesus Christ, can we end this? We had to stop. We didn't even finish the game.
But again, this is not too much of a fair assessment.
I know.
You know?
But we stopped because it was difficult at moments and it got a little old.
Okay. Now let's
Yeah.
okay. Here's a maybe this isn't the way we want to assign the rankings for these, but just here's a question for you. You've never experienced either of these two. Well, actually, no. Maybe you have. Maybe you. Think about this in terms of if you've never seen these two before, or if you have. Just kind of keep that in mind. You have a couple friends coming over. You get to do one of these with their two. Either watch Multifacial or play this video game. Which would you rather do? Which would you think would have more fun? Yeah, let's sit around and watch Multifacial. Or, oh yeah, let's take turns playing Butcher Bay.
It depends on the friends. But I guess my gut react. You,
David, your only friends.
My only friend.
Me and David.
I don't know. I mean, probably a video game just because I know your interests are more. I think if like someone came on like, yo, have you ever seen Vin Diesel's first project? Let me tell you, it's interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, you're
Do you have
yawning.
any 2004 original Xbox games we could play instead? That's what I would be saying.
I mean, I'll let you have this one just to, I guess, end it. I just personally, I don't. I guess I was leaning more negative. But I wasn't fully sold on it being under it or being it above it.
See, I want to convince you though. I don't want it to just be like we just need to just do this so we move on.
Well, I'm saying I was already 50. I was like 60-40.
Okay.
So like I'm just. I'll lean on the 40 instead of the 60. It's fine. I won't be upset.
Okay.
I have my own ratings. Actually, we're going to separate the show from now on by Devin's and Ethan's ratings. Which have our own. But yeah, I think we have to call this media or art rating.
I think it would be hilarious if we just continue to call it movie ranking.
Yeah, and then someone can call us out and be like, don't care. Everything's
Also,
a movie.
Listen to our episode where we fucking talked about
Yeah,
this.
actually, life's a movie. Ever thought about it that way? Yeah, bet you didn't. So,
and I'm the main character.
Exactly.
So, the Chronicles of Diesel movie ranking as of February 1st, 2021 is number 1, Saving Private Ryan. Number 2, Triple X. Number 3, The Fast and the Furious. 4, The Iron Giant. 5, Awakenings. 6, A Man Apart. 7 is Boiler Room. 8, The Chronicles of Riddick. Number 9, Pitch Black. 10, Knockaround Guys. 11, The Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay. 12, Multifacial. 13, The Chronicles of Riddick, Dark Fury. And 14, Strays. Now let's talk about how his performance in this movie was not good. It was okay.
this movie.
Or this game. Was better than the other people's performance.
I was gonna say we've had a couple instances where Vin is the best performer, but I don't know if that's really a good thing when everyone else was garbage. I don't think he was bad. I just think he was all right at best. I don't think he was phoning it in, but I also don't think he was trying his hardest, if that makes sense too. And maybe this has to do with where he is in this time in his career and how he is maybe relying on having other people around him. A VO booth, and I'm sure for this game, he sat in the booth, did all of his lines, and that was it. He didn't have the other people to talk to, you know what I mean? Yeah.
He just did his lines. Maybe he needs that more than people who actually do the voice acting as a living. Perhaps. Or maybe he just, this was in between shoots for Chronicles of Riddick, the movie, and, he's tired. He wasn't phoning it in. I think he was trying, but he wasn't at his best.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, like I said, I think he's the best in this game, but everyone else wasn't too hard to beat. Like I said, there's moments where I'm like, I think we could have done the same level of quality, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah. So our Vin Diesel performance rankings are number 1, Triple X, number 2, The Fast and Furious, 3, A Man Apart, 4, The Chronicles of Riddick, 5, Boiler Room, 6, Multifacial, 7, Pitch Black, 8, Knockaround Guys, 9, Strays, number 10, The Chronicles of Riddick, Dark Fury, number 11, The Iron Giant, 12, Saving Private Ryan, and 13, Awakenings. I think this is easy. This is in between Saving Private Ryan and Awakenings. Awakenings will always be at the bottom because he doesn't do anything. He opens a door for 3 frames. Saving Private Ryan, he just is there more
He
than
has
he
some.
is
I
here.
think. I still think he had like. I think he did what he needed to do in his role, but his character once again wasn't in many moments besides like the death scene that he had and a couple lines really early on in the D-Day invasion that he didn't do him poorly. Like I said, it's just a lack of quantity to make him. I think if he was in that entire movie, then I think that ranking would have been higher.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I kind of agree with you. Is that like Awakenings will always be bottom unless something just super. He'd have to really fuck up to be somehow worse
like
than.
The only thing I can think of is that his Groot character from Guardians of the Galaxy is in the Wreck-It Ralph sequel that we have on this list tied with another movie. You know what I mean? And maybe he says it once. Maybe then.
That maybe. And it's still like he still has a line. He didn't have nothing in Awakenings.
Right. I mean, we have.
If it was like a picture of him in like, let's say they make an Office movie and like one of the characters just has a Vin Diesel picture. Like, does that count? Like that to me would be worse than Awakenings. You know what I mean? Like that's the only thing I could think of. So I agree with you though. I think Saving Private Ryan. I think if anything, like Saving Private Ryan's much further from this in terms of him showing his skill. So,
but at the same time, I don't think he did a bad.
I just
job.
say he all right.
He's definitely not good. So, there you have it, folks. I'm not reading the list again. Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay is second from the bottom, underneath a whole bunch of better performances. This is probably the hardest episode to do. Not only like maybe it would have been one thing if we put Dark Fury with like another normal Vin Diesel movie, so we got to try it out, and then did the video game on its own. But this was a double whammy of brand new and exciting ways to rank Vin Diesel.
And unfortunately, they weren't like it wasn't like mind blowing.
Yeah,
that it made it even worse. It sucks that these are both at like the bottom of the barrel, kind of like where are we putting them at the bottom? I don't know. But so I'm hoping our next one is. I actually like it when we get one that's like in top 5. That makes it to me. It's when it's really exciting. Where we're like, shit, dude, is this better than Triple X? Like I don't know. Like that's why. That's where I really love the conversation.
Do you remember what our next one is?
Is it
for March 21st? Or March 1st, 2021,
Pacifier?
We will be reviewing the 95-minute-long comedy from 2005, The Pacifier.
Hell yeah. This is the one that I, like...
This could be
looking at the calendar, I marked this one.
Cult.
I'm really excited because I've heard bad things. So I'm hoping people are just shitting on Vin. Or not, people were, like, shitting on the movie and less on Vin. And I hope Vin will just maybe just carry us over the finish line. From what I've heard, though, it's not that good. But we'll see. It'll be your first Vin comedy, too. That's
true. Well, yeah.
I guess Boiler Room, I guess, was funny at moments.
No,
I don't know.
My gut wanted to say The Iron Giant just because it's animated and for kids, but it's not a comedy. I actually wrote comedy down as like a note about this film. Like, oh, it's a funny movie.
Vin laughs.
Yeah, you're right. He made a chuckle. Give me that vent tool. Well, there you have it, folks. We'll see you next month for another episode of the Chronicles of Diesel, a monthly podcast that you can find on a variety of podcast services like Spotify, Apple Podcast, the Audible audiobook app from Amazon has us on there, Stitcher Radio, YouTube. Actually, you might want to watch the YouTube one for this because we got footage from when we played. No audio for it. We're going to be talking over it from this episode, but maybe you want to watch that one too. Maybe double dip,
Double dip.
Maybe put a view on that and a listen on this wherever you're listening to this. And let us know if we're fucking stupid for putting this movie or this game on a movie ranking list. I even forgot that we talked about Dark Fury at all. That's how like forgettable that was and how weird this experience for this game was.
It's been an interesting 2 hours and 18 minutes, or how long this recording's going to be.
I am legitimately curious And like I know like we do lots of funny like if you really liked popcorn and Sonic, tweet it. I actually want to know what your thoughts are when trying to compare a video game as a whole to a movie as a whole, not just the narrative elements.
It definitely is tough.
I really want to know. Tweet at us. The show is at Sonic Movie Show. As you might remember, we also do a podcast series called The Sonic Movie Show. Talk about video games and movies and Sonic and Sonic movies and Sonic movie news and movie news and AMC stocks. I actually want to know this, so tweet at us. If you agreed with me having the Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay above Multifacial in a movie ranking list, tweet at me at Ethan Absolutely. If you think that Devin is wise enough to put a actual heartfelt short story that Vin Diesel funded himself and put his all into above a licensed video game for the Xbox, tweet at him at CURSONA YouTube. And we will see you next month.
See you next month.
What is it with you? What do you got, a death wish or something?
That's what it takes. I just want to race. Ride or die, remember?